Now, Programs Coordinator as the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODEO, Kwabena Abrampa, is suggesting that the running of the Electoral Commission is handed over to the 4 ceremonial commissioners who are not under probe. He believes it will be difficult for the 3 administrative commissioners, including the chairperson, to focus on running the commission while they are attending to the committee probing them. The Chief Justice has set up a committee to look into various allegations against Mrs. Charlotte Osei, Georgina Opoku-Amankwa and Amadou Sule, contained in a petition brought by some 17 people. Mr. Abrampa, however, insists it will not be possible to ask Madam Osei and her 2 deputies to step aside.
I always think 3 scenarios here. We can't say because of the importance of the elections and the timetable ahead of us in 2019-2020, we should sweep it aside. Because then we are not doing the commissioners themselves, the 3 commissioners themselves, any good. Don't forget, it's allegations affecting or involving their personality and their integrity. And therefore, they themselves need this process to either peg themselves or apologize if they are found guilty. So they need the process as we Ghanaians need it, because it's also one in line with our commitment as a country to fight malfeasance from our institutions. And so these are important issues that I would think. Putting that aside, it's also bordering on the integrity of the Electoral Commission. Don't forget, the only trump card that the Electoral Commission in Ghana, as any other electoral commission across the world, have for people to have trust and accept the results that it pronounces is trust. If the trust is not there, there are always conflicts and litigations around results that is announced by the Electoral Commission. How do we gain the trust? So it's also important that we go through this process so that we know that even if you misconduct yourself as a commission member, there's a process that will deal with you, so the people will always have trust in the institution itself. So I think we can't say because of our electoral calendar we should sweep it aside. It's important for the image of the commission as well as for the image for the 3 commissioners who have been who are alleged to have been involved in malfeasance.
But this is the case where even the day-to-day administration of the commission may come into question because of these hearings that are going on. What would be the solution you would suggest?
Sure, that's what I said. In fact, the Electoral Commission, as we know, as I say everywhere, law is headed by legality, surrounded by legality. The Electoral Commission is law, it drinks law, it sleeps law. Anything about the commission is about law. That's why it is important that any recommendation that comes around this moment should be guided by what the law will allow and what the law will not allow. Because the Constitution stipulates that the commission should be steered by commission members, mention the Constitution. So it is out of question for us to ask that a temporal person should be asked to come and hold the fort without a person going through the processes before becoming a commissioner. It's out of order. It's out of question. Then the next option we have is if the commission already has its strategic plan, which I know they developed one, they have posted in their website. Can we then say the calendar is available? They delegate the 4 other commission members don't forget we have 7 commission members in the commission, 3 are administrative and the others are ceremonial commissioners. Can the 4 other commission members be asked by the 3 to hold the 4th while they concentrate on the impeachment process? I don't forget, while the impeachment process goes on, they are still holding their positions. But the question is, will they have the right frame of mind to handle the day-to-day administration of the commission, to have would they be composed enough to superintend the activities of the commissioners they've been doing over the years? So these are some of the questions that come to play, whether we should allow them. Don't forget, we also have directors of the commission put in charge of all the departments of the commission who are well-versed and who have been, over the years, been doing their business. So we need some structure as it states that to continue to superintend on the directors, on the administration, so it goes on. But we need to be also careful in any recommendations that we give because of the legalities of the activities of the commission.
But this is the case where the directors of the commission you name have also been interdicted.
Yes. So it all comes to play. That's why I said. Yeah. So we need to put in place a structure. But in putting in place those structures, what would the law allow and what would the law not allow? That's what
it's interesting you raised the point about what the law would allow and what the law would not allow, because in the first place, would the law even allow for the stepping aside of these three commissioners who are under probe?
There's nowhere that it says so, that if commission members are under probe, they will have to be sacked or they have to be asked to step aside. They can do so by their own volition.
Beyond that, is there any option available to Ghanaians who are concerned about the running of the Electoral Commission?
Our concern is to pray for an expedition of the process. Our concern is to pray that we have competent directors and who will be combined effectively with the other four commissioners. Our concern is to pray that even though the four administrative commissioners are facing the impeachment process, they will still be composed enough to superintend and take care of the day-to-day activities. Otherwise, per the Constitution, we don't have any other thing that we can do.
But realistically, will these three administrative commissioners be composed enough to superintend over the activities of the Commission?
Such issues have not come before, but I doubt, looking and hearing what transpired yesterday, that the chair has now written that there are procedural breaches, that he needs some documents from the presidency. And if all these litigations are going to drag, I think to be composed to handle the two aspects, going through your impeachment process, don't forget, it's a process that will distract your attention, that you need to be focused, that you need to be composed, and having a divided attention and having equal attention for your two positions, our doubts. But let's see what happens.
So that's the voice of civil society. We'll now hear the voice of some of the key stakeholders of elections, political parties. And to help us discuss this further, we've been joined by General Secretary of the People's National Convention, PNC, Atiq Mohammed. Good morning, sir. Welcome.
Good morning, brother.
So, what is going on? I mean, what's your view on it?
Well, for me, to begin with, I think I'm deeply saddened by the trend of events, simply because as a major shareholder in this corporation called Ghana's Democracy, I am very worried that one of the major pillars around which this entire enterprise revolves is come under attack, and I'm using the word attack advisedly. All of us have had a fair share of issues with the Electoral Commission and by extension, I mean, with the chairperson of the Electoral Commission and by extension the Commission. We got disqualified, you know, and it had to take some legal intervention for us to be brought back. Some decisions were taken which, in our view, were not the best at the time for the Commission. The Electoral Commission chairperson didn't seem to have any room for accommodating contrary views and what have you. And so we've all had our issues with her. And even at IPAC, we've had occasions to speak against some of the things she put on the table and what have you. But for me, we are interested in building stronger institutions. Institutions that can endure beyond individuals. And if that's the agenda, and that's what has worked for us over the period, because nobody can tell me that NDC, MPP, and even PNC in 2000 have not had issues or had not had issues with the former chairman of the commission, Dr. Farijan. We've all had issues with him. But sometimes you present or you place your issues with him on a balance between your personal issues and the greater good, which one should take precedence. And a lot of the time, what comes up strongly is the fact that the common good is what should prevail. And so you slumber on your personal issues and allow the greater good prevail. That is how we have been able to build the Electoral Commission as an institution over the period. Now, it came to, and of course, we didn't expect, or we could not expect Afarajan to be on forever. So he did his bid, he paid his dues. When the time came, he had to bow out. And necessarily, there had to be a replacement. There were all kinds of issues regarding the replacement and what have you. We all shared opinions on what we felt should be done. But there is a constitutional injunction directing how the appointment of the Electoral Commission chairperson should go. Now, somebody has been appointed. Whether you like the person or not, whether you are happy with the process that led to her appointment or not, that is immaterial at this point. She's become the Electoral Commission chairperson. We all have got to work with her. And even working with her was not that easy. It was not rosy. It was difficult. We had times when disagreements.
You already named cases where you were even disqualified.
Precisely.
You had to take
and
it
even
to
at
court.
IPAC meetings, sometimes, you know, we would state our disagreements with some of the views she was presenting on the table. But that is how politics is about.
Okay.
You know, Poly 101, if you go to the university and they're teaching you introduction to politics, they tell you that politics is about disagreeing to agree. So it's always about consensus building. So at the end of the day, we find a common ground and we move forward. Now,
but
an election has been conducted.
Some of the allegations being brought against her in the petition, some border on corruption, for instance.
Chief.
And some of them are even perhaps perceived to be more serious than disqualification of a political party disagreements at an IPAC meeting. I
agree. The point I'm making is this. In bringing that petition, and this agitation didn't start today. It started even before the elections were held. People demanded their head even before the elections. Now, an election is conducted. Somebody wins, and just not long after that, people are bringing allegations of corruption and all kinds of impropriety against her and some other persons of the Electoral Commission. What we are failing to realize is, whatever the outcome of this case might be, is going to have a telling effect on the credibility of the last election. Because, for want of a better expression, and I'm not saying this to suggest she's corrupt, but granted the allegations as made in the petition come out to be true, how can a corrupt person conduct an election and you expect that election to be credible? It's not possible. And those who are familiar with legal dictums will tell you that fraud vitiates everything. And so anybody found to have had fraudulent behavior before the conduct of the election, it stands to reason that that fraudulent behavior might have found expression in the way the election was conducted.
Okay.
So people might even raise questions about the credibility of the outcome. These are,
would you be willing to raise those questions?
Even if I don't, a lot more people are willing to. We are getting to a point where the Pandora's box is about to be opened. And my fear is this: I have no issues with anybody trying to fight corruption, because personally I am allergic to corruption myself, and I speak strongly and quite loudly about issues of corruption. But the point is, if we get to that point, I am hazarding a guess that if it happens that she's found guilty, I'm not saying she's guilty, but I'm just saying it's a process. The outcome is unknown. But if it happens, I'm saying if it happens that she's found to have been guilty of all the allegations made against her, what that means is that she's going to be impeached, and there has to be a replacement. Who comes? And mind you, I am not hypocritical, and I am not going to be ostrich about this.
Okay.
There are political overtones to this. This is not out of the goodness of some patriotic citizen doing this. There are political overtones.
What do you mean by political overtones?
There are people who have never been satisfied with Charlotte Osei and have always demanded her head from the word go. So I see that as an extension of that fight or agitation that began long ago. And
which people are you
well, they know themselves, and I'm sure Ghanaians are aware of those people. I mean, if you care to follow the politics of this country, you know people who were always out for her head and what have you. People even demanded that she should resign even before the elections were held.
There are so many people in the public space who have made such statements, people from different political parties. I remember people from the PPP.
Nonetheless, they are political players. Nonetheless, they are political players. And I see this as an extension of that political agitation. And I keep making
So you think these political actors are trying to get her out of office?
Of course, otherwise why would we get to this point we are getting to? And I'm saying that it is not for fun that we created this body called IPAC. It is to resolve some of these issues bordering on our elections and the conduct thereof. So if you felt there are some strong cases or issues against the chairperson and, for that matter, some other commissioners of the Electoral Commission, I think if whoever the petitioner is really meant well, your first point of call would be to route it through the IPAC. If IPAC fails to deal with those issues, then the option of going through what the Constitution provides.
But again, IPAC is not a constitutionally mandated body It is just a creation of our democracy. So
and
what are the powers IPAC has in the first place?
In law, IPAC is starved of powers. But in practice, it is the major tool that has ensured and assured the successful conduct of our elections since 1992. So it is a body you can't wish away. It is an establishment that has been instrumental in the success of our democracy since 1992. So if there are issues, and look, we are consolidating our democracy. We haven't consolidated our democracy yet. And one of the major elements that we have done well in respect of this democratic consolidation is the conduct of elections. We have successfully held successive elections since 1992 up till date. Up till date. So, and IPAC has been instrumental in all of that. So if there is a problem with the body that manages our elections or even individuals that superintend over that body, I think IPAC should have been the first body to call upon. Say, look, these are the things we have identified. And if IPAC is even satisfied, we would even be the ones to petition the president ordinarily. Or if we fail to do so, then...
Because they are the first port of call.
Exactly.
So what would you say to these petitioners if you were to address them openly? What would be your message?
Well, in as much as they feel they are trying to fight corruption, even though there are several other cases of corruption happening at this time, and nobody seems interested. And when those cases are even brought up, nobody has the courage and the excitement to conduct an investigation. So I don't want to take away the fact that they are interested in the fight against corruption. But there are explicit cases of corruption in this administration, or alleged cases of corruption in this administration, that nobody, even when they are brought up, the administration is reluctant to prosecute them. When I say prosecute, that is take the initiative to investigate and eventually end in court if there is a need. So I'm not saying that there are other clearer and obvious cases of corruption they should be engaged in. But I'm saying that this is a very risky, dicey, complex enterprise.
But you are saying that there are political overtones to this.
Precisely, and that is why I'm saying that institutions such as the Electoral Commission, we can have
and
our political
I'm
games.
Curious to find out which persons are behind this.
Well, as for the persons,
to you.
no, as for the persons, nobody will step up and say, oh, I am responsible for this. Because...
But who do you suspect?
People who have always been demanding a head from the word go. I suspect they are fully involved in this. And I do not have...
There were communicators from the ruling party, the now ruling party, who were very vociferous about...
It could well be. It could also well be other players from other political parties. You never know. But what I'm saying is that my suspicion is that there are political players and there are political overtones to this whole enterprise of let's get the commissioner, the chairperson of the commission out and what have you. And I'm saying that it's a complex, dicey, and risky enterprise. This investment we are about to undertake, which investment will result in either the chairperson losing her job or being maintained. Either way, the outcome is not going to be pleasant. Because if she does survive this, what is going to be her posture towards the players in this whole corporation called Ghana's election? It's going to be totally different now. If she does suffer some casualty in the process, there's going to be a replacement. Who becomes the replacement? What process is going to be undertaken for that replacement to happen? And what is going to be the band of acceptability? How many people are willing to accept whoever is chosen as a replacement to Charlotte Osei? And that is when the crisis of our democracy is going to begin. We have labored enough to build a somewhat strong democracy. And we dare not invest that democracy we have labored over the years to build. I am really at this point very scared. People think it is fun. We can have our political games outside certain institutions, but not the Electoral Commission.
Thank you very much, Atiq Mohammed.
Thank you very much
for your time. He's the General Secretary of the People's National Convention, expressing his fears there.